Good morning, everyone. This is Chair French convening the business meeting of the Kansas Corporation Commission for February 22nd, joined by my colleagues, Commissioner Keene and Commissioner Keither. On today's agenda, we have a small consent agenda, just 6 items, and we have 3 noticed items. Commissioners, you've had the opportunity to review our consent agenda, and we will start with that. Let me ask at this time whether you have any questions about the 6 items on the consent agenda, and I will begin with Commissioner Keither.
No, I don't. Newly confirmed, reconfirmed, Chair French. Thank you.
I got 4 years of runway to cause trouble.
There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you. And Commissioner Keene.
No questions. My congratulations as well. I would move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion of that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, just took a sip of coffee.
Any opposed, say no. We've got an approved consent agenda. We now move to our noticed items. Our first noticed item is in docket number 24 DPAX 572 PEN. And this is a proposed penalty order for a violation of the Kansas Underground Damage Prevention Act, lovingly known as CUDPA. Our presenter for this item today is Mr. Hassan Latif. Good morning, Hassan.
Good morning, Commissioners. I believe this is the penalty order that assesses a fine of $7,000 to Atmos Energy, natural gas public utility, for violations of the CUDPA statutes. This order is included as a noticed item because of the size of the penalty being assessed. The penalty order compiles multiple violations, alleging that on dates between January and June 2023, there were at least 7 instances the company failed to provide or improperly provided excavators with the location of buried facilities before an excavation began, resulting in damages to gas lines. The order assesses a penalty of $1,000 for each violation, totaling $7,000. And according to staff's R&R, there have been, since 2021, 41 notices of probable noncompliance issued to Atmos Energy. In the present order, the 7 alleged violations resulted in damage to natural gas lines. Atmos Energy responded to staff regarding each of the violations, stating that they plan on coaching the employees and added GPS points to their mapping to improve performance on these issues. Staff believes the order appropriately assesses penalties against the carrier and recommends approval of the order, and I'm available to stand for any questions.
Thank you, Hassan. Let me ask at this time if there are any questions, and I will begin again with Commissioner Keither.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought, did you say 41? I think I read that too. 41 other?
Yeah, that's 41 instances where they had issued a notice of probable non-compliance to Atmos over the last 4 years. These 7 are the most recent ones from 2023.
23. Okay. I want to get that in order because that's substantial. Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure.
And Commissioner Keene, any questions?
No questions. I would move approval of the order.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the order as described in this docket. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say no. The order is approved. We will now move to our second noticed item, which is going to sound similar. This is in docket number 24 DPAX 573 PEN, and this is another proposed penalty order for CUDPA violations, this one relating to Black Hills Energy. Mr. Hassan Latif, go ahead.
Sure. This penalty order assesses a fine of $5,000 to Black Hills Energy, also a natural gas public utility, for violations of CUDPA statutes. This is for multiple violations between January and August of 2023. These are 5 instances the company failed to provide or improperly provided excavators with location of buried facilities, resulting in damages to gas line. Again, the order assesses $1,000 for each violation, totaling $5,000. According to staff's R&R, there have been 24 notices of probable noncompliance issued to Black Hills Energy dating back to 2021. But in the present order, the 5 alleged violations resulted in damages to natural gas lines. And Black Hills Energy responded to staff regarding each violation, stating it is working to improve its mapping system and is continually having follow-up communication with contractors and excavators on safe digging practices. Again, staff believes that the order appropriately assesses penalties against this company and recommends approval of the order. I'm available to stand for any questions.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions on this order? And I will begin again with Commissioner Keither
No, thank you.
and Commissioner Keen.
I do have a question, Hassan. If we take this order and the one we just considered together, obviously they involve analogous violations on underground damage prevention. Do you happen to know? I mean, and really over the course of the period, is there, I think you said in the case of Black Hills, there were like 21 over what, a 3-year period, basically?
Yeah, over the last, since 2021.
Okay. Do you have any idea if any of these were these issues that arose were as a result of their replacement of steel line with polyline? Do you have any idea if that was an underlying cause?
I don't know if these specific instances have to do with that. These are generally just anytime someone is digging for any construction purposes, that if the locates are not properly located or not responded to in time, those 21 notices may have gone out for just situations where they didn't hit a line or did hit a line, but just so it's not clear that it's just because of those instances you talked about, but there are generally, this happens all the time, as for anybody digging, the precautionary measure they have to take.
All right, well, thank you for that.
I can certainly follow up with staff and get that to you if there are some situations like that.
I'd be interested in knowing that if you could for both of these dockets, if you would. I'm curious about that. Which geographic area is of concern here with the Black Hills docket? Do you know? And you indicated it was the Olathe area for the previous one. Do you know which area this is?
For Black Hills. So this one is from areas, their cities they're listed are Maize, Kansas, Wichita, Kansas, Liberal, and Maize. So
Okay.
they're different places. They're not necessarily one area.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious because I don't mean to misspeak here and I don't mean to belabor this whole thing, but in the case of the Olathe lines here in the previous docket where Atmos was the operator, I believe they inherited a number of really old lines, and there could have been some mapping issues there too. Some really old lines from Union Gas several years ago. But anyway, if you could follow up with that additional information,
Sure.
And share it with my colleagues, I would appreciate that very much, Hassan. I appreciate the indulgence of my colleagues and that long question and answer colloquy we just finished. But with that being said, I would move approval of the order.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the order described in this docket. Is there any further discussion? I'll just add my 2 cents in the same line as Commissioner Keen. I think it would be interesting to see if there are any underlying factors here. I suspect maybe not, given your description. I mean, we see these pretty routinely. I mean, often it's the excavator being penalized because they dug before the time was allowed for marking. In this situation, the markings weren't put down fast enough, and so it's the other party, the utility, that's being penalized. And so it may just be that this is sort of a random batch of those. But I in the past there have been underlying driving factors. I know, like when we had Google Fiber coming through, they were trying to move very fast. There was a period where AT&T was putting down fiber really fast. And the utilities kind of got overwhelmed and had a really hard time keeping up with doing their locates within the statutory period. So if there is any underlying factor or theme along with these, if it relates to specific infrastructure that doesn't have good mapping, That would be interesting and helpful for the commissioners to know. So I support the request that staff follow up with us to just let us know if there is any underlying trend there. So I don't think that changes the order at all. Just to pile on Commissioner Keen's comments. With that, if there's no further discussion, I will call a vote. All in favor of the described order, please vote aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say no. The order is approved. All right, Hassan, I don't think you're done yet. We now come to our third noticed item, and this is also for Mr. Latif. This is docket number 24 TRAM 571 PEN, and it's a proposed penalty order in that docket. And as I mentioned, our presenter for this item is again Mr. Latif. Go ahead.
Sure. This penalty order arises out of a compliance review of El Hondureño Tow Service, a common and private motor carrier which hauls vehicles operating out of Kansas City, Kansas. The investigation was conducted on February 2nd by Special Investigator Matt Adams. And during staff's investigation, Investigator Adams found 21 violations in the order before you assesses penalties for 10 specific counts, resulting in $4,550 in total penalties. The violations, I'll briefly summarize some of the major ones. A $500 fine for failing to obtain KCC authority to operate before conducting intrastate operations, a $500 fine for failing to maintain proper insurance, and a $750 fine for operating vehicles that had not been annually inspected. Additionally, there were violations for failures of record keeping and failing to require drivers to keep records and documents for trips hauled, among other things. Staff believes the order appropriately assesses penalties against this company and recommends approval of the order. Both I and staff are available to stand for questions.
Thank you, Hassan. Are there any questions on this item, beginning with Commissioner Keither
No.
and Commissioner Keen?
Just a very brief comment. Again, I would commend our field inspector Adams for his efforts in this respect. Obviously, he was concerned in trying to apply these safety statutes, rules, and regulations in a way that would provide for public safety protections. Having said that, I would move approval of the order.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the order described in this docket. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, say no. The order is approved. Thank you, Hassan.
Thank you.
This brings us to the conclusion of all the items noticed on today's business meeting agenda. If there's no further business to come before us this morning, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you.
Yes.